the whole time you're just obsessed with your social media. Every minute you get, you're just, scrolling through your phone and you're checking your messages and you're trying to, engage people, and you got no time now for your salah, you got no time for Quran, you got no time for zikr, you got no time for your homework, you got no time for your studies, you got no time for other duties and responsibilities, you got no time for actual socializing with people, sitting with people, talking to them, then it is a very, very destructive thing from that point of view. So it is a big killer and waster of time, and it is also an antisocial, it can be a very antisocial medium, in that it's like what we would call, it is paradoxical. It is like, we would say it is contradictory of its name. They call it social media, but it becomes antisocial. You can become the most antisocial people on social media, right? Because now you isolate yourself, you cut yourself off from people, you sit in your room and you commenting about the whole world, and you're passing judgment on people and all of that. You don't come out of your room, you don't sit with your siblings, you don't talk to your parents, you don't respect the people around you, you don't meet guests that come to your house, you don't sit with uncles and aunts, because you're locked up in your little thing and you have become isolated, and you become antisocial. So social media has actually made you antisocial, right? So that's a very big disadvantage. What? Can anyone give me any more disadvantages? Yes? Whatever you post on there can go viral within seconds. That is, if you are using it thoughtlessly and recklessly, then it could be a tool of destruction and damage. Because now you're not thinking about what you're posting. And remind me, at the end I'm going to speak about this once more right at the end of my presentation, of my talk. I will speak to you a little bit about some etiquette and some very important considerations before you post anything, right? Okay. Hazrat? Maulana? Salam, ji? Yes. Oh, wonderful. Excellent input, Jazakallah. So yes, it actually can have, it can have a physical impact on you. It can affect you physically, your body. Your eyes, your eyesight gets affected because you are constantly glaring at the screen. And that light is hitting into your eyes. And that could affect your vision, right? And then it can also affect your mind, your brain. And then it can affect your health overall. Besides the eye and the brain, there's sometimes, very damaging, what you could call waves that come out from the device that you are using, right? And that has been a cause of health issues for people, right? You get an overcharge or overload of certain, negative energies coming into you from that device. That's why they say that when your battery is very low, you shouldn't be using your phone, because it gives off a kind of radiation, and that could be quite detrimental to your health. So it has a physical element of damage to it, right? Okay, then any other disadvantages? Yes, sure. Like to hear from you.
There's no delete button on the web. Whatever you post, it's there, it's
removed. Good point, very good point. Whatever you post on social media remains there. Besides Snapchat, I think. That's the only part where it disappears, right? Yeah. But there are people who still got that information sitting there in their servers. And this is going to be part of your profile, and it's your record, and 20 years later it can be brought up and it can be used against you to say, well, You remember, you would have forgotten, but it's all captured there. So be very careful about what you put out there because it remains there. And it's sitting on servers around the world. And one very big disadvantage coming from that point is it's an invasion of your privacy. You might be thinking that, you know what, this is my private space and I'm doing my, but actually your privacy gets invaded. Why? Because now you get profiled and they're watching every move that you're making, they're analyzing your thought processes, they're understanding your likes and dislikes, they're getting to profile you and develop, and they will now target things at you based on the profile that they've developed of you. So you'll find suddenly they're sending you a nice, advert about your favorite milkshake. And you're wondering, hey, how do they know about this? But they've profiled you because you've opened yourself up in social media, you've exposed yourself. By posting things there, they get to know more about you. So yes, that's one disadvantage because your privacy is compromised. Right? Okay. Any other disadvantages? Yes? Hey? Cat fishing. Explain that. I've heard of people fishing for fish, but they are fishing for cats. Right, like for example, you could have this anonymous people changing their identity and all of that. So yes, you could be exposed to, let's say it's a tool of deception. Right, it could be used as a tool of deception, and in that you could include things like all the, lies. People are there out there trolling, trolls are there to promote lies, falsehood, deception, to do mind control, to influence you to think in a particular way, right? And there are people who have mastered this art. So it's a very big tool of deception. If you don't know what just tell me when time is coming to an end.
15 minutes more.
15 minutes more, inshallah. I hope we will be able to round it off by then. So yes, this is a very, very big disadvantage because you get negatively influenced, and if you're not, mature enough and knowledgeable and educated enough, you start to believe what you're reading, and you think, or you start to believe what you're seeing, and this is the war of minds. Right. So yes, that's one big disadvantage.
Pedophiles could take advantage in grooming of the youth.
Yes, exactly. This is all part and parcel of that dark underworld that is abusing these platforms for all kinds of vices and evil, trying to entice young people and abuse them and, harm them. And there's also promotion of things like, from the occult, witchcraft, sorcery, Satanism, atheism. All of these things are also, that's very, very big disadvantage that this platform is used to promote all of these things. All of that is included in, abuse and this child abduction and, pedophilia, and all of these things come under the broad heading of what we mentioned here earlier on. Yes, Ahmed?
So one other thing is that employers today are looking at your social media postings when you apply for a job. So after the interview, that's where they get the most information about you, your historical behavior, etc.
Exactly what our brother mentioned earlier on, that what you put out there stays there, right? So you actually now have, you have actually created your own mold, which people can now view and they judge you on the basis of what you put out there. Yes, sister?
Some people post things and they want to see what people think about them, like they want opinions. Now, if people say negative things, it affects their self-esteem.
Yes, exactly. So this is also a very big disadvantage, because you can use this as a kind of a medium of maybe self-promotion, and then when you don't get the response you're looking for, then you become despondent. If there isn't a good respondent, you become despondent. Right, because you're looking for a good respondent and you don't find that, you become despondent. So you shouldn't use social media in that manner that it becomes a means of demoralizing you and demoting you and damaging you psychologically. So yes, that's also a big disadvantage. Anybody else?
There's one other that comes to mind. This generation is the first generation that is as stressed as it is compared to previous generations.
Right. So it actually, what it does, social media actually becomes a means of enhancing or adding to your stresses that you already have in life. You're already stressed out. Maulana spoke about the physical impact on your brain because of the waves and things like that. But from a psychological and psychiatric point of view, it impacts on your brain in the sense that you have information overload. Your brain gets so overwhelmed with the information that is being bombarded at you every second of the day, that it doesn't even have the ability to process that anymore. And your mind goes into a state of confusion, and your thoughts become fragmented, and it has an impact on your personality. Right? So I think we've spoken quite a lot about the disadvantages, and of course it is also a platform for promotion of falsehood, false ideologies, false thoughts, false opinions, false information, deception, lies, and all these negative things. So, having looked at the advantages and the disadvantages, now what is your verdict? I would like to hear your verdict. That should we have social media or should we disengage from it altogether? Yes, let me hear your views.
I actually agree with the brother, and I feel that social media is a tool.
Mm.
And although on this page I have many disadvantages,
Mm.
it depends on the user.
Mm.
And inshallah, I would like to use social media because the benefit it has for Islam and dawah and how people view Muslims in the world and how we can change that. I believe that social media will be a very important tool in that fight.
MashaAllah, that's a good, you've expressed your opinion quite, forcefully and confidently. That's wonderful to hear. Come, let us hear some other opinions and views.
I feel social media is like a knife. The knife you use it for good, you could use it for evil. Depends on you, the user. And I feel like it has a lot of disadvantages, and there's a certain limit that we need to have. And the children, I don't believe they should be using social media at all, because it really damages them more than it benefits them. If you look at us, the much young adults, we should be using it because it does help us. So there's a limit to everything. So I think we should put a limit to social media.
MashaAllah, very well articulated view and opinion. Very well articulated view and opinion. So I must say I'm really impressed. You really expressed yourself very clearly, very concisely, very cogently, and valuable inputs. And I agree with everything that you've stated thus far. Right? That good example the sister gave is of the knife. Social media is like a knife. Knife has got beneficial uses and it's got harmful uses. If you use it for the right thing, you can cut meat and fruit and whatever things that you wish to cut with the meat. You can do qurbani. It helps you to fulfill an obligation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's compulsory. That same knife. Right? And in the hands of the surgeon, he can save your life with that knife. It's rhyming through life and knife. And so you save your life with a knife. But in the hand of a criminal, he'll take your life with a knife. So this depends on the user. So this is something that we have to keep in mind always, that technology and the things around us are not necessarily evil by itself. But it depends very much on the user, how the user is going to use it. If you use it, it's beneficial. If you abuse it, it's harmful. Use and abuse. Right? So if you keep these two words in mind, use and abuse, then that is going to make the difference between harmful and beneficial, or beneficial and harmful. And yes, I agree also with the views that, you know, if it's used very cautiously and appropriately, it can be very beneficial. In today's world, you can achieve so much through social media, which would never be possible without the advent of social media. So, if you've got the right intention and the proper training and proper perspective in life and proper values and all of that, and you start using social media and you've got focused use of it, you can achieve tremendous amount of good in the world. So, and also agree with the point earlier on that there must be limits. Everything in moderation. Everything in balance. There's time for everything. There must be a time when you shut off from it completely. I like the point that was said, that you should own it, don't let it own you. You should control it, don't let it control you. Right? So that's a very big advantage of social media. I mean, a very important principle for the use of social media, that you should be on top of social media, don't let social media be on top of you. Right? And very important also is that age appropriate usage. Children, like the sister said, keep them away as much as possible, because this is not the time in their life for social media. They mustn't be, seeing somebody playing. They must be playing. They must be running around. They mustn't be sitting in one corner of the house with a device in their hand. They should be running around and playing, and they should be developing physically. And yes, when they reach a certain age and they've understood all the implications, like what we've spoken about now, they've understood advantages of this, and they are mature enough to understand whether it's useful or not useful, beneficial or harmful, when to use, when not to use, how to use, what are the etiquettes to use, and so on. I haven't even touched on that, but inshallah maybe that will be a topic of discussion. I did a program on Radio Islam some time ago on social media etiquette and regulations from an Islamic point of view. What is allowed and what is not allowed. Right. So when they know how to use social media, they understand the rules, the regulations, what is allowed, what is not allowed, what is halal, what is haram, and what are the etiquette to use it, then they should be allowed to use it, because eventually they are going to use it. So they should rather be trained by the parents and the educators, and when they've been trained properly, then you give it like a knife. If you give it to a child, he could cut himself and he could hurt himself and he could damage things. But when he grows of age and you give him the knife, now he's going to use it for, good purposes, and you will cut things that in the proper way. You know how to use the knife, and you know how to cut things, and he won't harm himself and he won't harm other people. So, alhamdulillah, I think that sort of rounded off our discussion of advantages and disadvantages in a very appropriate way. Okay, I'm almost completed, Mohammed. So yes, very important is respect, etiquette, consideration of safety, consideration of your own, personality, your own image, your dignity. Don't put things there. Don't use the social media in such a manner that it's going to harm you and your reputation and your standing going forward in life. right? So all of these things have to be learned. Now, at the end, I want to just tell you one or two small little things to give you some food for thought, to take back with you. So, before you post anything, like there's a saying in English that used to go, think before you ink. Now you have to change it to think before you post. Think before you post. Now what does the word think actually stand for? It's got 5 letters or 5 alphabets, right? The first alphabet is the letter T. And what does that tell us? We have to ask ourselves these 5 questions or these 5 tick boxes. Before we post, go through these 5 tick boxes before you post. So the first thing is think, and that stands for the letter true. What I'm going to post, is it true or not? If it's not true, how can I post it? Because I'm posting falsehood. Should we be posting falsehood? Never. Right? So the first question to ask is it true? If it's not true, no worries, I will never post it. The first thing you have to ask yourself, is it true? The second alphabet? H. What does that stand for? Helpful. Is it helpful? What I'm posting, is it helpful or is it harmful? Right? Helpful and harmful both start with the H, so you can now use that as your mnemonic to remember that what I'm going to post, is it helpful or harmful? Next alphabet? I. And that would be for informative or inspiring. What I'm going to post, is it informative? Is it inspiring, or is it just useless nonsense? No benefit to anyone. So it must be inspiring, it must be informative. Otherwise don't post it. The next alphabet is N. N stands for necessary. Is it necessary? Do I really need to post this? Somebody already posted it 10 times. Now must I post it for the 11th time? Is it necessary for me to post? Right. And the 5th alphabet is the letter K. And K stands for kind. Is it kind for me to post this? Am I being kind? Or am I being cruel? Am I being nasty? Am I being malicious by posting something? So you must be kind. So if you tick these 5 boxes and you say, you know what, it is true, yes, it is helpful, it's not harmful, it's informative and it's inspiring, yes, it is necessary and it is kind, then mashallah, you can post. Otherwise, hold it and don't post. And one last thing I want to say to you, a little saying that I mentioned recently, and some brothers have put that down and made it into a little saying, and that is, turn your device of vice into a device of advice. Right? You remember that one? Make your device of vice into a device of advice. This device, this phone, this tablet, whatever you're using, it could be a device of vice. You know what is vice? Vice is evil, you know, shameless, immoral, all those things fall under vice. All bad things are vice. So turn your device of vice into a device of advice. What we mean by advice, nasiha, and the word nasiha in Arabic means good towards everyone. So we'll keep this in mind, inshallah. Inshallah. Jazakallah khairan. It was very nice being with you. Can you people just repeat this, what I said, all together? So that I hope, inshallah, you remember this one thing at least at the end. Make your device of vice into a device of advice. Say it all together, right? Make your mashallah. If you can take this back, then I'm happy that I've left you with something useful, inshallah. And may you grow from strength to strength. May you develop and grow into good, strong, dynamic personalities and leaders of the Ummah, because the future of the Ummah lies with you. And I want to thank Muhammad Bhai, my dear friend, the coordinator of this entire project and this program, for inviting me and giving me this opportunity. to be here with you this morning at the world famous Islamic Propagation Center, the international center here in Durban. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Development company. Then he's been the CEO of Magellan Management for the past 19, almost over 20 years. He is with this company at the moment. It's a private investment and management consulting firm. And then he's also the chairman of Trans-Afrix Holdings. This is a holding company with interest in hotels, telecoms, printing, property development in South Africa. Then he was a director, now he's a managing director of Siapoka Technology. From 2015 he's been a director, from 2018 he's been a managing director. So he's got lots and lots of experience in business, in technology, and the topic that he's going to be discussing, he's got practical experience on it. So the topic is the fourth industrial revolution. Sometimes you get people talking about the fourth industrial revolution from theory, what they've read up, what research they've done, and they've presented, which is also very good. But the advantage we have here is both we've got the theory and we've got the practice. Lots of the things, some of the things that he's mentioning, he's already implemented it in his companies over a period of time, and now it's become internationally acceptable. So he's a trend setter in that direction, in that respect. So we are very fortunate to have Brother Ibrahim Patel. He was many years the chairman of Minara Chamber of Commerce. If any of you know what the Chamber of Commerce is, it puts together business people from different parts of the world. So Minara Chamber of Commerce, specifically for Muslim businesses in South Africa, how they can do business overseas, for overseas companies, how they can do business with Muslim companies in South Africa. So he's been the chairman of that Minara for many, many years, and now he's a director of that Minara. So we're very fortunate to have you, Brian. Please ask as many questions as possible. You'll thoroughly enjoy this presentation. I've witnessed it a number of occasions. So
how many of you know which street we are in? We are here right now. Which street are we in? We're in one of two streets. Which two streets?
Dr. Yusuf Dadu and the Queen Street one.
Dennis Hurley.
Dennis Hurley.
The reason I ask you for this, Avia, is if we don't know about history, getting to the future is even more overwhelming. The history of Yusuf Dadu and Dennis Hurley is very important to each and every one of you. Why is it important? Not because that they were historical figures, but because it tells us and it will tell you who you really are. Because these two people were very important to our society, to our communities, to where we are today. So read up about them. Don't just worry about who's the famous South African everybody knows? Nelson Mandela. Do you know who's the other famous South African that everyone in the world knew? Correct. Wherever I went, if I told them I'm from South Africa, they asked me two questions. Do you know Nelson Mandela? I didn't. Do you know Ahmed did that? I did. Because many, many years I spent in his office downstairs listening to his wisdom. Read up about him as well. So with that, let me tell you a little about the fourth industrial revolution. If it's the fourth, it means there was a first, second, and third, right? What was the first industrial revolution? So the first industrial revolution was about the steam engine. Anybody know what the steam engine was? In the old days, we had horse and carts. Long before my time, we had a horse and a cart. If you wanted to do something, it was done manually. The axe, chop down the tree. Wanted to go somewhere, you put the tree on the horse and cart, and you took the horse and cart and went or something. The steam engine revolutionized that. What the steam engine did now was, you didn't need a horse. You put the engine onto the cart, you could go further, you could go faster, you could do more things. It also meant that you could start making things a lot faster. So where you had someone that was was sewing by hand, they were now able to sew mechanically, which meant it could be faster. The second industrial revolution was the revolution of process. So we now started having processes that were being done faster. The third industrial revolution brought about automation. So we now had all these automatic machines that were doing things. So where you had a conveyor belt, or you had to carry a box from here to there, you just put it onto a conveyor belt and it carried it away for you. Seen that at the airport, right? Now you can get into a car, you start your car, it drives off. The fourth industrial revolution is the next step. Basically is that system of the steam engine, the system of the automated processes, and the human interaction is now coming together. So for the first time, you don't have to take notes, just listen. For the first time, we are now seeing man, woman, machine, and technology coexisting. And that's basically what the fourth industrial revolution is in a very simplistic way. All that it is taking all the machines that we have, all the technology that we have, and putting it together and seeing how man can interface with it and make things a lot easier. All that it's doing is simplifying life. So does anybody know how I got here today? I live up on the barrier. I needed to come here. I phoned Mr. Vahed and I said, I'm coming to this event. Is there parking? Because I'm coming back up, right? What's the most important thing for me? Parking, because I need to park my car somewhere. So he says, no, there's no parking. You'd have to park further down the road. There's a parkade there and you come off. So I thought, okay, that's easy enough to do. Then as I was leaving, it's pouring. So I thought to myself, I'm gonna park the car there. I'm gonna have to walk across here. I'm going to be inconvenienced by the fact that I have to go looking for parking. In the parkade, I'm going to have to find parking. Then I'm going to have to walk to get here. So what did I do? Uber. Pull out my cell phone, pick the Uber app, and have the Uber driver pick me up and bring me up. Simple as that. So now, why didn't anyone think about that before? We had a car, we had drivers, we had people wanting to go places. We had all this inconvenience, but we never thought about it. And now some guy thinks about it, we say he's a genius. We all start using the Uber app, right? Anybody heard of Uber? Yes. Heard of Facebook, right? Everybody heard of Facebook, right? What's Facebook? That does what? How? Technology, right? Back in my day, when I was a little kid, if I wanted to make friends, took out a little piece of paper, got a pen pal booklet, was the addresses of all people who were pen pals all over the world, and we wrote a little note to them and said, hi, my name is Ibrahim, I live in Durban, and I hope you would be my friend. Put that into an envelope, and we sent it off. And we hope that that person will get that envelope and will respond to us. So some guy in Australia that I wrote that letter to writes back to me and says, hi, my name is John, I'm from Adelaide, and I'd really like to be your friend also. How long did that take? Eh? Yeah, 3 to 6 months, right? That's what it took. You want to write to your friend, you wrote a letter, put it in a postcard, sent it off, right? Facebook is exactly the same thing. You want to make friends with people all over the world, you put up a little profile and say, hi, I'm Ibrahim, who wants to be my friend? How long later someone becomes your friend? Instantaneously. What did WhatsApp do? What does WhatsApp do? Those days you want to send someone a message, you sent them a fax, or you sent them an SMS and you hoped that they read it, right? WhatsApp's just moved the exact same platform and made it simpler, faster, better. Nothing else. That's all that technology does. It just keeps improving things that are there at a highly exponential pace. What is happening is that our technology is moving at such a high rate, at such a high speed, for the first time in history, that we are seeing this thing at such a fast pace. Who does geography? Who's a genius in geography? You. What's the world's biggest population? Anyone know? China? What's China's population? You say it's the biggest. What's the population? Anyone want to guess?
1.5 billion.
Eh?
1.5 billion.
What's the world's population?
7.
It's now 8 billion. The increase in the population is becoming so exponential that it's difficult to keep up with. So what's China's population? Well, no, you say 1.5, right? Correct. So you think that that's the biggest population in the world? No? Yes? India? Facebook, biggest population in the world. 2 billion people live on Facebook. Seriously. It's a community of its own. That's basically what technology is. Now you need to start thinking about things differently. Start thinking about what the future holds for you. We start thinking about these things in a different concept, and that's where technology starts unlocking. So what is driving this industrial revolution? Innovation. Buzzword of 2 years ago was innovation. Everybody's innovating stuff. What does innovation mean? I can't hear. Don't feel afraid. I'm not giving you exams after the severe, and if your answer is incorrectly, I won't write incorrect answers. People, innovation. What does it do? It's about making stuff, right? You're making things. Innovation is what is driving, one of the components of driving this fourth industrial revolution. People are now finding new ways of doing things, using technology that has existed before, and revolutionizing it, making it, and adapting it to what we can implement today. So innovation is one of the drivers. Give me some examples of innovation. Give me an example of an innovation. WhatsApp's an innovation, right? Correct? Uber's an innovation. All of these are innovations. All that they've done is, what existed previously, they just made it look wow, made it easier, simpler using technology. The second thing that's driving it is the ability to create, creativity. Now, you are in school. All of you grade 11, right? Grade 10, 12? Okay. No university, right? When you went to school, they're teaching you stuff. Maths, history, science. But in the future, the most important subject that you're going to have to be familiar with is creativity. The ability to think differently, the ability to think creatively, and the ability to start making things.